The fight with the activist left over transgender children specifically, and how the White House is going right into the center of this battle, that's something we will be discussing here for sure in just a moment. It's pretty stunning as you watch it play out. Nancy Pelosi complaining aloud, it seems, reports of it, that the far left members of the Democrats in Congress are just making the usual Democrat head fake too hard to pull off. You know, all the Marxist stuff, the trans agenda stuff. The older Democrats want to play that stuff down in the election year. They don't want the American people to really think about that before they go in and cast their votes in a midterm election where inflation's already very high. The border's wide open, which we all know. Border is a total mess right now. We'll talk about that too, updates on it. They're trying to say, well, we can't really tell if when we get rid of Title 42, it's really going to cause a surge. Yeah, they can, actually. They're just lying to you, and we'll have more on that in a moment. But first, this is pretty remarkable because Disney, as we all know, Clay, is the company that is probably most associated, I would think. I mean, you're a parent. I'm not yet. But most associated with the entertainment that you can trust your kids with. Disney movies, safe for the whole family, good family fun. And we've seen these videos, and got a hat tip Chris Rufo for getting them out there. He's the one who has sources inside Disney who are feeding these videos. I mean, before I get into the CEO one, Clay, did you see the senior Disney executive who referred to herself as bi-romantic asexual?
Yeah, I don't even know what some of these terms are now.
What? I was going to ask you. I mean, you're a smart guy. What? I had never heard that one. Have you heard that one? I had never heard that one.
I have no earthly idea what in the world that represents. And they're just making stuff up now. I mean, it's not like I'm clueless. You know, I'm not 85 years old and have never heard any of these terms at all. I can't even imagine having to sit through this entire crazy Disney ritual humiliation, it felt like, basically, of Bob Chapek, their CEO. Because his contract, Buck, is up next year, and this feels like they have just ordered effectively a hit on this guy, and they're going to try to find somebody else. And how crazy is the CEO that they are going to end up putting in place? I mean, look, Disney is the quintessential, for many of you out there listening right now, this is a quintessential middle America, pro-America, kid-driven company. And they've lost their minds with this woke agenda to the extent where I know a lot of people out there who are listening to us right now are thinking, hey, do I really want to spend all the money to take my kids to Disney World? Is there somewhere else? I saw where people are pushing to take your kids to Dollywood, which is in my state of Tennessee because it's a more wholesome environment. Would you have ever believed, Buck, that Disney, even Disney, which is directed directly at children, would go this woke? It's really kind of unbelievable that we're here.
What it proves to us is that the wokeness, the mind virus of wokeness, and I still really love that Elon Musk description, which is essentially wokeness gives vicious, nasty people an excuse to attack people and pretend that they're virtuous for doing so. It gives unhappy, unkind, vindictive individuals some kind of virtuous armor to use while they go on attack against people. And this is also reminiscent, I think, of the Maoist struggle sessions, right? This was from the Cultural Revolution in China. There would be denunciations, public denunciations that people would be expected to do of themselves. And then, Clay, so they would march people out into the town square or, you know, a city square, whatever. And then their friends, their neighbors, even their family members would be told to come out. And first, the individual would have to say, I'm sorry that I am not enough of a friend of the revolution and I betrayed the revolution's principles and I'm disgusting and I hate myself for it. And then all of their friends and family members would have to get in on it too. This was the way you had to prove your purity and fealty. Listen to, that was under Maoist China. This is a real part of history within living memory, or close to living memory. And here is Disney CEO Bob Chapek groveling in struggle session fashion. Play 18.
I pledge to be a better ally for the LGBTQ plus community, apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be, and committed to ensuring that our company lives up to its values. I know that we've got work to do, and that work starts with listening. I understand that we've made mistakes and the pain that those mistakes have caused. And I know that our silence wasn't just about the bill in Florida, but about every time an individual or institution that should have stood up for this community did not. We know the moment requires urgency and words are not enough. So we are taking some actions right now.
I mean, they might as well invite a bunch of school kids to come out with little sticks and hit him so he can say, I'm sorry, because that's what they did in the struggle sessions in China.
This idea, and I'm just going to continue to repudiate it. This is what I wrote in my most recent book. This idea that corporations should take sides on every single political issue is just complete madness to me. I don't understand it. I think we're going to see, I really hope, a massive swing back in the other direction where companies are going to come out and say, you know what, we're just trying to serve everybody. And the idea that we want to wade in on incredibly contentious issues in what is effectively a 50-50 country and be constantly fighting political battles when we are a for-profit corporation, to me, is absolute insanity. And it's been allowed to, this is the Trojan horse analogy that I think applies very well here too, Buck. This idea that you allow, it starts off relatively minor, right? You're going to allow in these diversity and inclusion people, give them a job title where all they care about is diversity and inclusion. And what do you think they're going to find? They're going to find issues with diversity and they're going to find issues with inclusion, because if they don't find those issues, then their jobs aren't protected. So they come in, they start looking around, they start tearing up the existing infrastructure and arguing that you have to reform yourself in order to, in some way, justify why they have their jobs. Just think about it, Buck. There's never a diversity and inclusion person who shows up and says, hey, you know what? Everything's perfect here, because then they don't have job security. They have to find flaws in the diversity and inclusion universe. They tear apart everything. They don't build anything back. And effectively, they are the Trojan horse. We're allowing all these people into our institutions. They are coming in with no goal to build anything except to destroy the existing infrastructure. And every corporation and every major government entity is falling victim to the same problem. And this is all happening not because it's necessary, Buck, but because spineless leaders like Bob Chapek at Disney are afraid of what those D&I people are going to do. If they become the target, they're going to lose their jobs. They're not doing what's best for the company. They're trying to do what's best to preserve their job.
This is not a new strategy either. I mean, we call them D and I positions right now all through corporate America and also in bureaucracies, in the CIA where I used to work, which as an organization, I think its brand has just unfortunately gone down. What everyone thought of it before, if they thought it was nefarious, at least they thought it was semi-competent and serious when it was doing its nefarious stuff. And now everyone's just like, what is going on over there? And I do not have good answers other than it's a mess. But if you've ever seen folks out there, The Hunt for Red October, great movie, Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin. There is, in the early
before
stages,
he killed somebody.
This is, in the early stages in the movie, Sean Connery kills someone on the sub who is the political officer, the commissar. And this was a reality all throughout the Soviet Union, whether you were working in a printing shop or you were in a military unit or you were on a submarine, there was someone assigned to make sure that you never committed an act of wrongthink. That was that person's entire job. Of course, in the context of The Hunt for Red October, you're like, the slimy, grotesque Soviet apparatchik is the first one to go, and everyone's like, yay. But the reality here is that you have ideological commissars all across corporate America, all across the federal bureaucracy, and even down into the school system, which I think is where we should probably go on this next, Clay, because at this phase, and you see all these parallels, right? We just talked about Bob Chapek doing the struggle session. How many people have we seen, even if they say something very mild or they're just insufficiently committed to the cause, they go on these apology tours, and they bend the knee.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, I'm not enough of an ally. It's never enough, of course, because the nature of this mindset, this really totalitarian mindset that's has taken over the left in this country, and really I think was the purpose or the goal all along. This has spread all over our cultural and political institutions, certainly within our media institutions, and now in the school system. And we should talk about this. And Clay, you mentioned this to me. We both, we coordinate right beforehand our favorite things we want to talk about, and we're both saying this in New Jersey, this is madness. I mean, they're doing exactly what they say they're not going to do or is not happening. Therefore, the Florida bill is anti-gay. Notice they've tried to do that. They've tried to mobilize the gay community against a bill that just says no gender identity for toddlers, essentially. It's so dishonest, the don't say gay aspect of it. It doesn't say gay in the bill, never mind doesn't tell them not to say gay. So they lie about it, Clay, and then we see in the school system in New Jersey, other places too, by the way, we're just going to keep digging, they are teaching gender identity. Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly on her show. I mean, I know the school where she pulled her son out of very well. It was a rival school to mine growing up in New York City. She said straight up they were pushing trans ideology on her second or third grader, saying, you may think you're a boy, but are you sure you might be a girl? To second graders, adults are doing this, folks. I know it sounds crazy because it is, but notice how they're not actually denying that this ever happens. They're just saying it's bigoted when you talk about it.
We're going to talk about it because I do think it's significant. It's amazing how quickly the conversation shifted from this is not even going on in schools, right? That was the initial response to the Florida situation, to now New Jersey coming out and basically saying, yeah, we're teaching gender identity to second graders.
Yeah, they just wanted to buy time to figure out what the talking points were going to be. That's what it feels like, because they are doing this.
And so it completely justifies the Florida bill for anybody out there, and I think it's the vast majority of parents who think that kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third graders should just be learning basic educational methods, or learn how to read, learn how to do arithmetic, learn the basics of education. We don't need to be indoctrinating these kids in sexuality, but that's what's going on right now in New Jersey.